There's a Zen story that I really love. One day, Buddha was confronted by an angry man who insulted him terribly. I don't know why you would want to do that to Buddha, but anyway. Now, after listening to the man, calmly Buddha replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse it, who owns the gift then?" The angry man responded, "Well, belongs to the giver." And Buddha said, "Exactly. Your anger belongs to you, and I choose not to accept it." According to the Cambridge English Dictionary, a boundary is a real or imagined line that marks the edge or limits of something. And in life, boundaries are about having clarity on what you will and won't accept in your life, knowing where your responsibility ends and another person's responsibility starts, and deciding what is worth your energy and what isn't. Ultimately, we want to be clear about what we value, we want to know how to communicate it clearly, and most importantly, we then want to be brave and disciplined enough to follow through on those limits that we've set. And all of that is what we are going to philosophize about today. I'm your host Mandy, this is the Self-Powered Podcast, and let's get right into it. I think we often associate boundaries with conflict and possible rejection, and those are definitely two things that humans severely dislike. Usually, the resolution to set boundaries comes with a lot of weight on our shoulders, fear in our hearts, and an intense urge to run like hell in the opposite direction. I mean, we are beings who like to fit in and be part of the pack. And when we do or say something that has the potential to break us away from that pack, it goes against all our instincts. And I think we sometimes fail to remember that we walk around on a globe with over 8 billion people around us, and if push really comes to shove and we do get rejected, pretty sure we can find another tribe. But beyond that worst case scenario, I really don't think we have to make it so dramatic. I mean, we are all entitled to our own values. We have the right to stand to those values. And since we're the only ones who have to spend every single day, 24 hours a day, within our own lives, we should at least make it a nice experience for ourselves. When we start to realize that setting boundaries is not about willfully hurting others, but rather about creating a life we actually want to be in, we can start to let go of the guilt and all the mental drama surrounding this topic. By the way, there's one hell of a thunderstorm happening outside, so I hope that it's not too disruptive. Otherwise, we'll just sit together in the storm. Firstly, we need to get clear on what we want and why we want it. When it comes to deciding on something, if I'm not sold on it, I'm not going to be able to sell it. Now, this point in itself can already be quite tricky, right? Most of us know what we don't want, but it's sometimes difficult to know what we do want. So just a little tangent here, if you want to figure it out, you can ask yourself, if I could erase everything from my life right now, what would I choose to put back in? Or make a list of everything you don't want in your life, and next to it, write down what the opposite of that is, and then you get what you want. Now, whatever the method you use, getting clear on what you want and why you want it will help you to sell your boundary to yourself and to whomever you're going to communicate it to. For example, I have decided I want a YouTube channel. Why? Because it's really fun, and I get to connect with cool people. Yeah, I'm talking to you. And maybe, just maybe, I get to help someone in the process. Now, let's say I'm busy preparing a script and a friend calls and says, "Hey, can you help me with something real quick?" In the past, I might have dropped everything because I didn't want to seem selfish or unhelpful, but now that has shifted. I am very clear on the fact that this YouTube channel really matters to me. It's not just a hobby, it's something that really lights me up, and because of that, I'm not really willing to compromise my time on it. So instead of immediately saying yes, I can say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm working on something really important right now. Can we maybe do it later?" That's a boundary, right? And I hope it goes without saying that this is assuming it's not a horrible situation that they need urgent help with. I'm not a monster after all. But just notice the response is not mean. It's not dramatic. It's just honoring what I've already decided matters to me. It's about protecting the time and energy I need to follow through on something that brings me a lot of joy. And in my mind is really important. Now, if that person takes it personally, that's not in my control. But how I show up for myself is. The reason I'm able to say no without guilt is because I have already established that what I'm doing is important enough to invest my time in. I mean, if it wasn't, I shouldn't be spending time on it anyway, right? And that's why it's important to know what you want and why you want it, so when it gets tested, you can stick to it with confidence. It is my responsibility to uphold and communicate my boundary, and what I deliver and how I deliver it is also my responsibility. How it is received, though, is the other person's responsibility. Just as the Buddha chose not to accept the man's anger, the person on the receiving end of your boundary can either respect you for it or be mad at you. That is their choice. And if they are mad at you, again, you have the choice to either accept it or let them keep it. When we talk about boundaries of responsibility, we're really asking ourselves two important questions. Firstly, what actions am I responsible for? And secondly, where does my responsibility end and the other person's responsibility begin? Sometimes just defining this can be immensely helpful and can free you of the weight of guilt and discomfort that you might be feeling. As soon as you recognize, hey, I've done what I could, this is where my line of responsibility ends, you can sit back and take a breath and see how it unfolds. Now, of course, if we're being nasty about it, that's on us. But when we're gentle and honest and they're nasty because it does not happen to suit them at that moment, that's on them. So yes, your words and actions do have an impact, and it's crucial to be mindful and respectful, but ultimately you can't control someone else's feelings or reactions. Your responsibility is to voice your truth clearly, respectfully, and authentically. And once you've done that, how someone receives or reacts to your message is entirely their responsibility, not yours. Yet, what often happens is we find ourselves trying to manage the emotional responses of others. We end up feeling guilty and often backtracking or even holding back on our true feelings just to maintain the peace. And as you know, this usually happens at our own expense. And the irony of it all is that if we say yes just to protect the relationship, we are ultimately the ones who end up hurting the relationship anyway, because we then resent ourselves for not being disciplined and courageous enough to say no. And when we end up not getting through to our priority, that turns into resentment toward the person or the friendship. So if you think about it, it's a loss either way. And I also think that setting boundaries and sticking to them is a massive show of respect toward yourself. And as I've said before on this podcast, if you respect yourself first, people usually pick up on that and then start to respect you more too. So not only will drawing some lines in your life help you to achieve and enjoy more, it will also give you a massive confidence boost. Imagine actually standing up for yourself. How incredible is that? How awesome will you feel? In that moment when you do that, you actually treating yourself as something valuable, right? Because we protect and stand up for the things that we think are valuable. So if you set a boundary and you stick to it, even though the response is not that great, you are telling yourself, hey, you're more important and I really value you. And I know this is going to be triggering and you might feel like, okay, but now I'm being arrogant. But I'm sure intuitively most of you know that that's not the case. It isn't about putting yourself above others. It's about honoring yourself and your life and allowing others the space to do the same for themselves. Now, another thing I find incredibly important when it comes to boundary setting is to always be as honest as possible. And when I say as possible, it's not like I'm saying, okay, lie every now and again. I just mean you don't have to share every single reason why you can't do things, but you can still be honest to a point where you feel you're comfortable. Hope that makes sense. Now, it might feel easier in the moment to make up an excuse, right? Saying you already have other commitments when you actually just don't want to go somewhere. We've all done it. But this approach often backfires because, first of all, you'll have to remember what you said, and secondly, it just doesn't feel good. Instead, practice honesty, even when it's slightly uncomfortable. For example, when you're dead tired and someone invites you over for a Saturday get-together, instead of saying, "Oh, sorry, we already have plans with someone else," you could say, honestly, we've had a really busy week and we're just going to take this weekend to rest and recharge. Now, when you say it that way, it's truthful, it's still respectful, it's kind, it's not a rejection. It's just a statement of how you're feeling and where you've set your boundary. It's not that bad, right? And honestly, someone who's not willing to accept that, do you really want them in your life? Another important point is to set boundaries clearly enough that you won't have to repeatedly say no in the future. An example of this is I've often been approached in the past to join schemes involving investments. And I'm generally very cautious about those things and I'd rather steer clear of them. No judgment, by the way, if you're into it, do your thing. It's just not mine. And because I know that these opportunities won't interest me now or in the future, I choose to set my boundary clearly from the start. So instead of just declining a single meeting with a vague excuse, I'd rather say something like, "Thanks for thinking of me, but honestly, I don't fully understand these things and I'm just not comfortable committing to something I don't understand completely. And at the moment, I also don't really have the capacity to learn more about it. So thank you very much, but this isn't something I'm looking to get involved in." I know it's a long one, but make it your own. Or I'll say something like, "I've honestly never been comfortable with these kinds of things. However, if you do make your first million, please come and rub it in my face. I'd be genuinely happy for you." So I'm not trying to mask it, right? I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm honest about it while still respecting the fact that someone else might feel differently about it. I'm not here to convince you what's wrong or right. I'm just stating that I'm not interested and asking you to respect that. Now, if I would constantly make up excuses like saying, "Oh, sorry, I can't make it this evening to your meeting," that person get their hopes up and they're going to ask you again next week. Do both of you a favor and just draw a clear line. Save yourself and the other person time by being clear and sticking to it so they don't continue to waste their time with you. So even though in the moment they might not be happy with your answer, at least they know where you stand and you avoid continuing to disappoint them by stringing them along forever. In my opinion, that's more respectful than trying to make excuses. So, to bring this all together, when it comes to setting and communicating boundaries, first of all, get clear on what you want. Secondly, be clear on why you want it. This is important because in the moment you're going to feel uncomfortable saying no or drawing that line, and then you need to be able to remind yourself why it's really important to you. And that why is usually what is going to help you to be courageous in the moment. Third, take responsibility for communicating it honestly, clearly, and respectfully. Fourth, show yourself and the other person respect by sticking to it. And then lastly, remember the Buddha, if the response is sour, let them keep it. In wrapping up, there's one last thing I want to clarify. Setting boundaries isn't about arrogance or vanity or treating yourself well at the expense of others. Remember, they have their life and their boundaries too. It's not selfish. In fact, it's the opposite, because boundaries help us build healthier, clearer, and more authentic relationships. People actually feel safe when they know what to expect from you and the relationship. Even if they don't always get what they want, at least they won't be disappointed because they know you are honest and consistent. And also, when the time comes that you do agree to something, They know you will be fully present and that you'll be happy to be there. So it removes so much confusion and resentment, and that alone fosters greater understanding and respect between people. Isn't that what relationships are all about? It creates freedom and balance and certainty for everyone involved. I want to leave you with this quote: "Your boundary need not be an angry electric fence that shocks those who touch it. It can be a clear, consistent light that guides people home." And with that, I wish you happy boundering. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, give it a like, share it if you feel like it, subscribe if you haven't yet. And other than that, have yourself a beautiful rest of your day. And until I see you again, always stay powered by progress. I'll catch you again in the next one. Bye.